So let's go to the monthly budget report and Deputy Superintendent Jones. Oh, sorry. Member Davis?
Sorry.
Okay. Deputy Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Superintendent of Operations Scott Jones. So this is the monthly budget report. I can attest that the Utah State Board of Education and all of the, or the entire budget within Department 400 is, we're able to meet all of our obligations and commitments. We continue to ensure internal controls across the whole enterprise or across all of the different sections that make up Department 400. Pending any questions, sir, I can move it your direction to the next item in the monthly budget report.
See no lights. Let's proceed.
So we always try, again, earlier, I stated about how important it is for us to try and make sure that you have the latest and greatest information. I understand there might be some concerns about that this was just added. This being the results of the October 1 counts. We have to go through a pretty intensive process of ensuring accuracy and reliability in these counts. We did that process and we've come to this consensus on these numbers with our partners in GOPB, the governor's office and the legislative fiscal analyst. At this time, Chair, I think it would benefit the board if you would call on Director Sam Urey and Minimum School Program Coordinator Del Frost to just provide just an overview of what the results of this. We anticipate there will be some media inquiries on these numbers. And as you all know, these numbers are what really is probably the biggest and most important pieces of data that go into determining funding levels, both at the upcoming mid-year update for the current fiscal year and then for FY25. So Chair Moss, at your direction, could you recognize Director Urey and Mr. Frost? Yeah, just go.
Yes, please. Thank you both.
So just go ahead and give them the overview. And yeah.
Good evening, board members. Sam Urey, School Finance Director. With me is Del Frost, MSP Administrator. As you can see here, we did see a slight increase in charter enrollments, along with a slight decrease in district enrollments overall. It's worth noting, I think, that as we look at grade bands and declining birth rates across the state. I'm a Utah native and I've always heard that Utah is just going to keep growing, right? And I did my part. I have 3 kids, 2 who are in the public school system, but we have seen that trend hold, that these declining birth rates, and so MSP Administrator Frost just let me know that in the K through 3 grade bands, those grades are averaging about 5,000 students less than those grades from 4th through 12th. So 9th through 12th. Thank you for the correction there. So we are seeing quite a dramatic shift there in those incoming students in the lower grades, and so we are projecting. If you look on the far right there at the very bottom, we are projecting next year another decline in enrollment overall of 0.6%. So, you could think of that as a projection to remain mostly flat there, but happy to address questions. We didn't want to go too far into a district by district analysis, but we feel pretty confident just based on the data that we're not demographers ourselves, but based on the data that we've collected and our partners in the system, we feel confident that this is a wise and conservative projection going into next year. And again, the October 1 data doesn't lie. This is what we have in the system. So,
Questions
MSP
or
Administrator
comments on
Frost,
that?
anything to add?
Go ahead, Dale.
Chair. Dale Frost, MSP Administrator. Did you want us also to cover the next document, or are you going into that next?
We can.
I'm
The
sorry.
next document is the kindergarten data on full day versus half day, but happy to address any October 1 data questions or projections for fiscal year 25.
Could you scroll? I know we have this in backup. I wonder if you might just scroll up a little bit into the district section. Or is that a separate? Oh,
That's at the top. Yep,
yeah.
right there.
I do want to note for the board, as we make a press release, the numbers will seem to be just a little bit different. There are some students who might be partially enrolled in one or another LEA. So the total count will be just slightly lower than what you see here, but the overall trends and numbers are the same. It's still a 0.3 overall decrease in the student count.
I know you're not demographers, but I see 3 significant increases in rural counties, right? Iron, Garfield, and Nebo. Is that something we're seeing out there? What's the difference?
We can't speak to that. That's actually related to online program enrollments. There was a large online program that shifted from Tooele to the Nebo School District, and so you're seeing that reflected. Though
Is that Garfield
There-
as well?
there
Yeah,
are
so-
Partly online?
there is
Okay.
some actual growth in Iron County. I have a cousin that's a home builder in Iron County, so but so there is some growth there in Iron and in Nebo. I'm not as aware of much growth in Garfield specifically, but most of it's related to online student enrollment.
Yeah. So, Chair, if I may add,
Yeah.
so if you look at Nebo, they were up about 7,400 students, and Tooele is down about 8,000. Almost all of that is that move from MyTech High, just the contract. And then it's on a much smaller scale is Garfield. But Iron, a lot of that growth is actual students. So the biggest changes is that movement between Tooele and Nebo. We do have some growth in pockets, as you can see. Overall, our district enrollments are down slightly.
Got it. Other questions? Member Klein?
Do we know who took over the contract for MyTech High?
Nebo School District.
Nebo
Oh,
School
they
District,
did. Okay. Okay. And then, do you know the numbers, and are they being tracked, of the influx of students from outside the country, like coming across the border, that have been coming into Utah? Do we know what the numbers are for that, to have a better picture of what's really going on?
I can speak to that, Chair, if I may. Member Klein, we do, so our enrollment models, the 2 main things we look at are those who are kindergarten age, so we look at the births, essentially 5 years ago, and then the in-migration from out of state. And the reason we've been growing as a population has been that in-migration has eclipsed the declines in births. And this year was really the first time that there was that switched. For example, the births are down about 5,000 compared to the graduating class. So to answer your question, Member Klein, in-migration was a little over 3,000 students this coming year from out of state into this.
Follow up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
does out of state include those coming, like
So
refugees or
that is
illegals, or
everyone.
just anybody coming?
Correct. Sorry, we're not looking. I apologize. we don't know the specifics of those. We just know the total head count of students that came from out of state, but we don't have a breakdown beyond that.
So we don't know how many have been sent here that came across the border. That's not being tracked anywhere?
If I may, Chair, we don't have that data at this point. It may be helpful for us to reach out to our partners at the Gardner Policy Institute at the University of Utah to see if they're tracking that more closely. And we can get that data for you.
So when a student enrolls, where they're coming from ascertained? Do they have to say, they were just sent here after crossing the border? I mean, when they come across, they're put on a bus or a plane and sent to lots of different locations. It should be something that should be trackable instead of just treated like just another kid that came from another state. To see if they're new to the United States, that's illegal?
AEG
But
Buse has a
the
light
federal
on.
government, I would think, is tracking that as part of everything that's happening down there. There should be some record that's being kept, right, of who's being shipped where.
So schools are not allowed to discriminate against a student based on whether they're here legally or illegally.
Well,
under
that's not my
Filer
question,
versus
though.
Doe. And so schools don't ask generally whether they came here legally or illegally, or where they. I don't know that that's something that's asked.
Hold on, let's just have follow-up.
So these
Member
numbers
Klein.
are being obfuscated, like the growth and the decline are being obfuscated by not knowing that information. So we can't tell how that influx is affecting our enrollment.
Is that the question then? Whether we
Yeah.
know within the in-migration numbers, which of those are cross-the-border immigrants? Do we know that?
Chair,
By border, I'm talking U.S. border, right?
right.
Yes.
Chair, I understand Board Member Klein's question. The appropriate answer at this time is we do not have that level of detail of information at this time, nor do we know for sure, or certainly everything is dependent on how the schools are coding children that come in to enroll in that particular school. What I can do is get with our data and statistics team. If Board Member Klein will, approve this or allow us to do it and follow up on her questions, because again, I know that we have particular codes that we train the LEAs to use, but the level of detail on whether or not we can distinguish precisely where a child came from, I'm not sure that that's available, but we certainly can check and follow up with Board Member Klein.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are there federal entities that are keeping a record of where they're sending these people as they come across the border? Do we know that? Or is that something you can check on?
Yeah, I could tell you what I know from my experience with Homeland Security, but my answer is yes, I think so, to the fullest extent they're capable of doing that. I mean, we all know that there's, and I'm not taking any position that there's concern with this, our southern border, and that there very well could possibly be individuals with children that cross that are not documented as crossing at a certain time. The extent of that, I'm not aware of.
Oh, I, not intentionally, hit your button. My apologies.
No, you're good, ma'am. So we let us, we understand your questions. We understand your concern. Let us take some time to follow up on those specifics.
Well, and
Again.
let me just say one more thing.
I didn't do that one.
That was me. Go ahead. Then we'll turn it to Vice Chair Hart.
Okay, when they come across the border, government officials are putting people on planes and trains and shipping them to different parts of the country. We may not be able to know how many are actually like coming across on foot on their own, but those that are shipped to different places, there should be a record of that. My husband having worked down on the border and understanding how this operates. So,
Yeah, Chair Moss? Yes. So I agree and concur with Board Member Klein. I am not prepared at this time to provide the level of detail that she's asking for, but I can later if she's amenable to that.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Hart.
Did My Tech High add a site or change a site? So do we see a corresponding decrease in
Tooele.
Tooele? Do we know why they did that?
Twilla?
Why'd they switch the program?
Twilla
What's that?
pulled on 'em. Twilla pulled out on 'em.
Oh. Okay. Does anyone know why?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, back to Sam. Director Yuri, excuse me.
Okay, and if I can clarify, we do not believe at this time that there's a need to change the fiscal year 25 projections. We do feel, along with our partners at the Governor's Office and the Legislative Fiscal Analyst's Office, that our total projections here are accurate, regardless of taking into account different refugee situations. So. But we are happy to provide additional data as needed. If there are no further questions here, we'll move on to the kindergarten counts.
I don't see any lights. Oh, Member Carey? Sorry.
Just a point of information. I want to go back to the time that I thought I heard Deputy Superintendent Jones said he had experience with the Department of Homeland Security. Okay, just wanted to make sure I heard that right. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Got some stories. In the right forum. Right. All right. Back to Director Yuri.
Very good. I unfortunately do have some experience with Homeland Security as well. My firstborn was actually born in Mexico because I taught in a border district, and I paid a $5 cash copay for him. And so when we had our second on the American side of the border, I was flabbergasted to get thousands of dollars in medical bills. But anyway, so the kindergarten counts here. Our overall totals are there at the top. We have 34,911 full-day kindergartners, 10,345 half-day kindergartners, for a percentage of 77% full-day and 23% half-day. If you'll recall, during the last legislative session, the legislature moved to fund a full WPU for each kindergarten student and family choosing to have that student enroll in full-day kindergarten. As you can see, it does vary by district according to their space and availability, but the legislature has been willing to fund that full WPU, and by and large, we've seen those districts and charter schools really take advantage of that, and parents and families as well. So we know specifically our largest district, Alpine, where there's just 45% full day. They do have a lot of space considerations. They've gone through lots of growth recently and things, but across the board there, large numbers of families are appreciative and taking advantage of this option. If we can scroll, yeah. I will note and give many kudos to our data and statistics team who there were some challenges in different LEAs reporting correct kindergarten, what we call the type code, so whether they were full day or half day, and so they moved heaven and earth to make sure that we contacted all those LEAs and collected the correct data as of October 1. But happy to answer any other questions there.
Member Davis?
Waiting.
Oh.
Do we have a total number of age-eligible students that participate in kindergarten? Like, what percent of the kids who are that age in the state are doing any kindergarten at all? Because it's not compulsory. How many are choosing it? At either half or full? I mean, what's just the total doing it at all?
Chair, I can begin to answer that question.
Sure, Dale, thanks.
It's Chair, Member Davis, it's a little tricky to answer because, we do have folks coming in from out of state. But, there are about, we looked at the kindergarten age population, there are about 47,000. And the kindergarten incoming class is more like 45,000. So hopefully it'll give you an idea. So, and then it does, so it was 46,000 last year, and then the first grade class was 48,000. So there is an uptake between kindergarten and first grade. And I don't know if that can help you kind of get a sense, but the vast majority of students from the data that we can see do attend kindergarten, either half day or full day. But there is a handful of students that attend first grade. I don't know if that answers the
Well, they
question.
skip kindergarten and go straight to first grade?
I'm just telling you the numbers. I don't know. I don't know exactly how they get to first grade. I just know that the first grade class
It's
is
96% are attending kindergarten. Okay,
Or home.
it's a
Or do
lot
we
though.
track home?
96% is a lot.
May I also make one point about half day? So we said half day, the statute says that, to qualify for full day K, you have to have the same schedule as first through third grade. So there are some extended days and situations that are part of, those half day just means funded at the half day level.
Can you repeat what you just said?
So what statute requires is that you have the same schedule, the same number of hours as first through third grade to qualify for a full day kindergarten student.
Every day, all day?
The same as first through third is what the statute says. So that there's still local control on their schedule, but it has to.
Okay. Yeah, okay, thank you.
That's all I was trying to say is that there are some, half day encompasses more than just what we think of typically as half day.
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members? I'll just echo the thanks to the data team. I know the first year of this full day, half day was a trick, and our folks were scrambling to get the data right. So our thanks to them. That's a lot of checking around, a lot of LEAs out there. So thank you. All right. Does that conclude the budget report, or is there? Okay. Thank you much. All right. We will go to agenda item 16. Oh, did I miss Deputy Jones? Sorry. I
Yeah.
was stampeding away. I forgot we still have the discretionary
Sir,
funds.
I tried to
Back to you.
I tried not to be a diva and come to the front, but if you're going to mute me, then. Okay, so discretionary funds report for your review. This is an updated report, so you can see the comparison of the reports from last month to this month. What's especially your key takeaway here is we do have some funds that are available or unobligated. You can see that in the upper right-hand corner under the column remaining. Please take a look at the tax delay fund. There's over $5 million there. That's unrestricted money. We encourage board members at your direction to come with ideas on how to utilize that funding. Then you can scroll down a little further and see that the updates that occurred at your direction, what projects are open right now, and what if there's the other report too. You can see the changes that were made at your direction. Sir, subject to any questions or concerns on the discretionary funds report, we can move to the presentation on the CARES and the CARES Act funding.
Any comments or questions? Seeing no lights, let's go to CARES.
Good evening, Board. Jessica Kerr, your CARES Education Specialist here at the agency. It's always funny, and it was not planned. It was not planned. I know, wouldn't that make it so much easier? Anyway, sorry. So if we could go to the next slide. So this is just giving you an overview of all of our CARES funding. I do want to highlight that 1, 2, and 3 are currently their grant life has ended. So the only one that's currently open is like the American Rescue Plan. So if we'll move on to the next one. This one highlights kind of the award, the amount, the purpose of the funds, and the distribution method, along with the number of awards and the deadline to be used. On to the next one. This is our ESSER award in K-12. We do like to highlight that 90% of our awards have gone to the LEAs, 0.5% to the state admin, and 9.5% to the state reserve. If you'll go to the next one. 100% of Utah K-12 COVID-19 relief funds are obligated. We do like to highlight that for you each time we present to you. If you'll go to the next one. This is our first round of CARES. These funds haven't changed since the last time I presented to you in August. So if we could skip to round 2 of CRISA. There we go, perfect. So these funds had to be spent by September 30th of this year. If we'll go to the next slide, this will give us a little bit more information on that. So the ESSER grant ended September 30th of 2023. LEAs have until December 8th, 2023 to get in final reimbursement requests in Utah grants. Your CARES team has been sending out reminders to LEAs starting in the spring of this year, letting them know that the funds were ending and the timeline on submitting those reimbursement requests. If we go to the next slide. So we have our ESSER base, our 90%, and then our ESSER 10% base, and our Gear 2. Our numbers have gone up a little bit. So our ESSER 90% base has gone up 11% to 99% since the last time I presented to you in August. Our ESSER 10% base has gone up 7%, and our Gear 2 grant has gone up 17% since I last presented to you in August. And this part's the really thrilling part for me is on the fully reimbursed, our ESSER 2 90% went up 27% since I presented in August. And our Gear 2 has gone up 30% since I presented to you in August. And those were just very exciting numbers to me. So I thought I would share those along with you. If you'll go to the next slide, these are just additional federal awards from the CRISA Acts. It mentions that the University of Utah Reading Clinic and Gear 2, kind of those different things. And our EANS, our Emergency Assistance for Non-Public Schools, where USBE is serving as the fiscal agent. If we can go to the next slide. This one is our third round. It is ARP, or the American Rescue Plan. These funds have until September 30th of 2024. We like to put that this is in progress and how much kind of where we're seeing the money go. So 90% of the LEA award, 5% to accelerated learning, etc. And our next slide, it kind of goes into what highlights from LEA plans for ARP ESSER. We're really looking at purchasing technologies, capital improvements, including HVAC, and student community mental health services. If we'll go to the next slide, I will do the same thing. I'll just kind of tell you how much we've increased. So on our ARP ESSER 90%, since the last time I presented to you in August, we've gone up 14% to hit 59%. Oh, will you go back up one? Perfect. So on the 59% is what we've gone up to, which is 14% more than what I presented in August. And ARP ESSER 10% base has gone up 8%. ARP summer is gone up 17%, and ARP after school has gone up 9%. Now the next one, please. So this is just kind of the additional awards from ARP as well. It just talks about ARP EANS, where USBE is serving as the fiscal agent. If you'll go to the next slide. This is just kind of our Utah LEA ESSER planned funding by category. We've shown this to you every time we've presented. And after that, I am open to any questions.
Okay, comments or questions?
Thank you.
I don't see any. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Board.
Okay. Okay, with that, I think we are wrapped on the budget. Okay, thank you, Deputy Jones.